Hello, hello, mis cielitos, and welcome back. Goku is here, and I am continuing Raging Loop. Last we left off, we had taken several routes, two of which ended in our deaths. And the turning point was, first we had the question of who we wanted to investigate at night, and we chose Takumi, and found out that he was in fact a human for this iteration. Then later on, during the feast, Mamiya claimed that she was the snake. So we had the option of calling her bluff by revealing ourselves, or staying quiet. In calling the bluff, we ended up being killed. Then once we stayed silent, she was essentially accusing Tae-san of being a wolf. And so we could either choose to vote for her, so she would end up being hanged, or we could choose to vote for Takumi, which would make it so that the votes ended up against Tae-san. When we voted for Takumi, we also ended up dying, and then we voted for Tae-san, and she ended up being hanged, and we were able to progress from there. Ah, Bun Pete's and Void Beast Pete's. The best kind. Hello, Ziri. Thank you for coming. But yeah, we're about to head into night. Everyone's sort of returning, and we did have a run-in with the students in which something strange happened with Haru, in which we're starting to discuss a little more here with Rikako. But she made a comment that made it seem like she knew that we were in a loop. Yes, when Harumaki Shima-sama lost her parents, he was left with a mental illness. Some went as far as to say that she was possessed by the Okami-sama. Possessed by a wolf? I've heard of possession by fox. Voodoo. But that's new to me. It doesn't seem unlikely, though. Okami-sama does not possess humans. Is that how it is? I'm not sure I understand. Hello, Binks, darling. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for coming. Aw, and I'm glad to hear that the migraine is gone. Hope that this can be a distraction for you. Is that how it is? I'm not sure I understand. Oh, how do I put this? It is something that would be troublesome if it could happen easily. The Okami-sama and the other guardians are godlike entities, even though Yomotsu Okami-sama rank highly on that front. To summon a god of that caliber, you must prepare an appropriate ritual. Possession by wolf is not something that can happen so easily. That was a decent explanation. I could understand that it would be weird for famous gods to just possess someone. So, was this the work of a fox or a tanuki? We serve Great Lord Shinai, so we should be warded from those kinds of creatures. But didn't the wolves get betrayed and killed by humans and other guardians? Maybe that left an opening. That is something that we still do not know. What do you mean? Yasumizu is actually the only place where it is said that the Okami-sama are dead. In Kami Fujiyoshi head families, it is even said that it is the Yasumizu inhabitants who are the Yomibito. Uh-huh. Yeah, I was just thinking about that because he mentioned the betrayal to the wolves, but hmm. We know that the wolves have a different perspective. Is that true? I yes. Um, could you keep it a secret from the villagers? What would happen if I told them? They would be quite upset, surely. Yeah, of course they would. It wouldn't make sense for them to become murderers just because they heard something like that. A long, long time ago, when I was still a girl, Kami Fujiyoshi's people got drunk and revealed the truth behind the feast of the Yomi Purge. Yeah, Tai-san herself said it last time. Just knowing the real story wasn't enough. That knowledge alone didn't motivate the wolves and Badger to kill. Back then, Chamie was probably just dealing with her own problems. I'd probably badly misunderstood her situation. It really did seem like the wolves had a change of heart due to more than simply words. This was good. I could now see a bit more of the overall picture. Haruaki-sama. Haruaki-sama. Sorry. What is it? You were making a scary face. Did I say something bad? No, sorry. We were talking about Haru-chan, right? So what's up with her? Nosato's doctor said that she has a mental illness. However, in Kami Fujiyoshi, as well as here, people never stopped whispering. She was actually possessed by the wolf. That was why the Uematsu came to banish the corruption, and she became better. Did you pray or chant something? Well, something like that. That made sense. The four families ruled through the local faith, so cracks in their beliefs were serious trouble for them. I didn't quite relate to the idea that some beastly possessions couldn't happen. But since they'd brought in the Uematsu to deal with it could only mean they'd wanted to handle it from a religious standpoint. In a way, that was an admission that Haru-chan was an exception in their faith. The family heads had probably wanted to treat it as a problem that had nothing to do with the religion, but that hadn't worked out. Well, if they didn't allow healing her with a change of the environment, this didn't seem all that unusual. There were stories of beastly possession all over Japan. Mamiya-san probably had tons of them in her head. It did freak me out a bit that it happened here of all places, but I felt like I had to consider it separate from all the other strange phenomena here. By the way, did you ever hear anything about possession by Yomibito? That would be strange as well. Yomibito are fearful creatures. They have no human intelligence or virtue. Haruma Kishima-sama did not seem to fit that description. That reminded me that last time, Rikako-san had been declared a Yomibito when something went wrong with her mind. Haru-chan wasn't like her at all. And since no one could think of an explanation, we began thinking she was possessed by the Yomotsu Okami, right? Yes. Kami Fujiyoshi had many people who knew of Yasumisu's legend. They said that, corrupted or not, the god was a god, and that since she was in such an eerie place, she might have been possessed by the wolf. And the prayers healed her, huh? Yes. In the end, it was considered to be merely minor trouble caused by the corruption. I didn't get it completely, but it didn't seem like a big deal, and ended a while ago. But now it had come back. This is our secret, no one else's, and it probably doesn't have anything to do with the feast. Ignore it and go to sleep. This is our secret? No one else's? Perhaps the children know something of Harumakishima-sama's illness. I doubt they'd say anything, though. If Mochi wasn't lying, then this had nothing to do with the feast, and that was what I thought, too. This was a Fujiyoshi problem, completely independent of the feast. However... I see. So you rose. You've tried again several times, have you not? What did she mean by rose? I think I heard something like that during today's feast, too. To rise is to come back, especially from the land of Yomi. Rose is its past tense. Then rise not means don't come back from the dead? Rikako-san nodded. Well, that made sense. Yasumizu considered returning from Yomi to be ominous, so it served as farewell to the dead here. I see, so you rose. You've tried again several times, have you not? How? How did she know that? I was being subjected to some weird death loop, and I was the only one aware of it. This was the one thing I couldn't justify in a purely logical manner. Had she noticed it when she was supposedly possessed? Was I just overthinking it? Maybe she'd been referring to something else, or was simply spouting random nonsense. Was it possible that something supernatural really had possessed her, and it could tell what situation I was in? I didn't want to believe that, but I would keep it in mind as a possibility. However, not even Rikako-san seemed to know anything about this supernatural entity. Was it completely unrelated to my situation, the feast, and Fujiyoshi's legends? I couldn't afford to overthink things. However, for all I knew, Haru-chan could be the key to unraveling this strange situation. I'd have to keep that in mind. I'd gotten lost in thought again, but this time Rikako-san just silently waited until I was done. She too was wearing a profound expression, hanging her head and lost in thought. We are ignorant mountain people. Wisdom was buried, and now we are dancing a pathetic dance. Anyone would be like that in this situation. Haruaki-sama, I see you will not go any further. What do you mean? Like I said before, I don't have any special powers. What about special circumstances? Or a special past? That's what I want to know. I won't... There's so much about this guy I'm sus about. No. It does not matter. No! Don't drop it, Rikako! I merely want to believe that you are special, Haruaki-sama. I do not know what started it, but after seeing you, through the shadow of the leaves that day, I had been thinking of nothing else but you. It could be because you helped me. Wait a second. Hold on a second. We only saw her through the leaves during the first loop. Did we? Because I'm pretty sure we first technically met her when she was just out on the road during this loop, right? Or am I forgetting something? I'm probably forgetting something, but I'm pretty sure on this loop, we just met her on the road. As we were, like, driving by in the van with the journalists. It could be because you helped me when I hurt my head on the Okiba, or because you called me by my name. I looked for reasons, but I'm still not certain. Perhaps none exists. Yeah, I'm gonna have to, like... Because I've taken just a couple of very scattered notes, but I think now I'm going to have to, like, actually create columns to account for what happened in which loop. I looked for reasons, but I am still not certain. Perhaps none exists. I cherish you, Haruaki Fusaishi-sama. So I made her say it. Rikako-san. It is fine. D says, I mean, she was standing near the trees, but... Yeah, we really only spotted her through the leaves the first time. Binks. Yes, this loop is the one where you met her while driving and she fell. ZD, I legit just did a rewatch of everything because I missed a lot, so I'm super refreshed. Okay. Then yeah, Curious. Curious that she has that memory. It is fine. No need to say it. I am not the type of person who could hope for something like that. I only said it because I had something else to say. Which would be... Aw, he looks sad. He looks genuinely sad there. Please, leave this place. I can't, can I? I knew that well. I believe that I could escape last time and ended up failing to protect anyone. I understand why everyone here is so afraid of this mist. It's because you can't escape it, and it will remain until the feast comes to an end. And that's why I... Please don't say it. I'm not doing this because I want your gratitude or comfort. I am doing this as the descendant of the bedroom women servants, who must see their guests on their way back, and as a woman who treasures you. I truly want you to survive this. You have no reason to die in a place like this. I'm sure you have a place you must return to. I wonder about that. Do not worry. Even if you have lied or become in debt, it is nothing compared to the sacrifice the mountain asks of you. So, I will help you escape. What? That actually sounded like she knew of a way to escape this place. I wanted to ask about it. I had to, even. Despite feeling that way, though. Please don't say it. I refused. And I knew full well what that meant for her. Even though you are as good as deceased. Am I now? No. But it will surely happen if you continue this. Rikako-san. Do you have any other dark secrets? Huh? She stared at me in bewilderment. You always knew that you could help someone run away if you discarded yourself and your feelings. However, you didn't know if you could go through with that, right? You didn't know if you should throw away your duty as an Uematsu and save someone, or stay in Yasumisu until the end and keep being an Uematsu. After a lot of inner conflict, you decided that letting me escape was the right thing to do, and that you wanted it too. You wanted to make me believe that it doesn't matter what happens to you, as long as I'm alright. I don't like that. Man, this was fun. I'm gonna play this by my own rules. It was fun, and she was just lovable. Sorry. That's why I want to change the rules. How about this? If you cut it out with the unpleasant secrets, the man called Haruaki Fusaishi will trust Rikako Uematsu. Seriously, lovable. I will survive for Rikako Uematsu's sake, while you will survive for Haruaki Fusaishi's sake. And if we both survive, you can ask Haruaki Fusaishi for whatever you want, and I can do the same with Rikako Uematsu. Willing to gamble on that? Sounds way more fun, don't you think? Rikako-san was trembling. Her face was all red, her eyes were full of tears, and her shoulders were shivering. This might be a foolish misunderstanding of mine, but do you mean that, I wasn't rude enough to force her to say it. Instead of waiting, I just embraced her. Aww. I'm not gonna abandon you and run away. That'd mean letting go of such a tasty-looking woman. I would've picked different words, but sure. It'd be one hell of a waste. So please survive. Well? Are you taking the bet? I felt her heated breath on me. It seemed to penetrate my shirt. No, you must flee. You're adorable. I'm gonna skip that line. But the rest will have to wait for later. Now, I'll have you ask that again when the bet's won. That's alright with you, Rikako-san. I tightened my embrace a little. Eventually, she nodded, sealing the wager. She did look a little younger. It kind of felt like her cheeks were a little puffed. Good night. You too. Good night. It's a battle, I shouted, and she responded with a huh? The flirting continued for a bit, and then we parted ways. All right. With that out of the way, I had to make sure she kept up her side of things this time. Now, who to choose today? The situation was completely unlike yesterday. Takumi-san was in even more critical position than before. It reminded me of Kaori-san's situation from last time. If he went out of control, the only one who could stop him was probably Kanzo-san. But even then, someone could die. Yunosuke-shi was, as Mochi had pointed out in the feast, a convenient dumping ground for votes. Knowing Kanzo-san's influence, Amiya-san would definitely become a candidate for a hanging. In fact, it was more or less obvious that she was an enemy by now. On the other hand, we had people in important positions in completely different ways than yesterday. Mochi had good intuition and used it on me a lot. And Haru-chan. She had little to do with the feast, but she might have had a hint or two regarding my looping phenomenon. Investigating her would be completely personal, but I'd already let Tae-san die because of my selfishness, so that wouldn't be special. It was pretty messed up, clearly, but so was the situation where a selfless act could prove fatal. Besides them, Kaori-san, the old wolf guy, and Yoshitsugu-kun were still total blanks. Whether Kaori-san was a human or a wolf, she'd be a real danger if her sons died. She wasn't a good target for the snake. Yoshitsugu-kun had a tendency to go wild, but he had little influence over the feast. The old guy was the same as always, an unpredictable vote. I wouldn't pick them this time. Come to think of it, could I investigate the same person I checked yesterday? It'd probably be pointless, but I was curious. Who did I have to go for? So we got Takumi, Kyunosuke, Hisako, Shikamochi, or Haru. Well, this is tripping my usual tactic of just going down the list. So I do imagine there is a reason they brought up the possibility of searching someone again, so I feel that will be relevant at some point, but do I want to do that now? What do folks in chat think? Because I'm gonna go through everything, so all that matters is the order I do things in. I think for now the only one I want to avoid is, well, I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? If you guys want me to, I was gonna say the only one I think I might avoid is Takumi again. But if you guys are interested in seeing what happens if we investigate him again, I am down for that. So, as far as my gut goes, as I said, I want to avoid redoing Takumi for this run. Hisako, I mean, I think Haruaki wrote it well that whether she's a human, a wolf, or potentially the badger, she's an enemy. So, she's another one that I kind of want to avoid. I'm most interested in Chikamochi, honestly. Since Chikamochi seems to have realized we do have a guardian, but if he is a wolf, it's surprising to me that he would tip his hand so early. Like, he would let us know that he has that information, because I just think that a wolf would want to appear as sort of inoffensive as possible, and someone knowing that you have a guardian might make you wary of them. But in general, if I mean, first of all, I just really like Chikamochi as a character. But yeah, it would be fascinating to know if he has a... Yes, his whole position in this. Let's see, Think says, yeah, I'd avoid him in case it is a ways theory. Yeah, I feel like the badger might flip to wolf status at some point. Angelius would have me checking Nosato or Mochi because of double checking the journal of slides, because Mochi is alarmingly intuitive. Hmm. Yeah. Uh, I'm just gonna have to make sure that I. Well, they do tell you which you have already picked in the branching path, so I'm gonna go with Chikamochi. I wrote down the name, left it near my pillow, and went to sleep. That looks. I think that's different than the last. Truth of the genius. We got key 13. I think that's different from what we got last time, but it doesn't say if that's human or wolf. And it took it a while for the narrative to say. Yeah. That looked definitely different than the one for Takumi, and since he was human. Huh. Theory interrupting themselves. Oh. I woke up to yet another day and got the info I wanted as the snake. You could say the wolves had let me live. Could I trust that Yasunaga-kun and Mochi were the only ones who suspected me? I could contribute to the human survival by hiding my identity as the snake and gathering information about the others. However, that had me worried. Would everyone believe the snake who'd survived by hiding his identity and revealing himself late into the game? I was particularly worried about Kanzo-san. He hadn't said anything wrong so far, but there was a tendency for anyone he cast suspicion on to be dogpiled by the others. That seemed intentional on his part, but it seemed like a mistake to me. Yasunaga-kun's attempts at resistance hadn't gone well so far. He didn't have many cards to play yet. Perhaps he believed that I could be one of those cards. Would I be able to act today? Weighing my options, I opened the door. Oh boy. Oh boy. And saw Takumi-san. My surprised gasp quickly became a cry of pain. Knocked backwards, I was thrown back into the hut. Sitting on the floor, I looked up at him. He wasn't saying a thing. His expression was stern, and his eyes seemed to be boiling with hatred. Oh! I thought he was just gonna beat us to death, but looks like he brought a weapon. In his left hand, he held a hoe. Even that seemed like a lethal weapon when held by a man with such a threatening visage. He was out of control, and I was clearly in danger. Takumi? Come on, buddy. He still wasn't saying anything. Not because of hesitation. Because he was waiting for my reaction. He would decide what to do based on what I did. Why are you here? Still on the floor, I asked him that. Oh, boy. Two died today. His response wasn't an answer to my question, but it was an important thing nonetheless. Oh, what's a little being having yourself cut up to death by a hoe? It's fine. We had a death that broke the rule of 1 per day, 1 per night. Something commonplace during the previous loop. It happened again. Who? I was more or less certain that one of them was Yoshitsugu Oribe. The boy went wild during the first night last time, and he tried the same this time. so I assumed that another night was all he needed to gather the resolve to go wolf hunting. Instead of answering, though, Takumi-san just took a step forward and closed the door behind him. He crouched down and looked at me in the eyes, but even from that position, he loomed over me. You said you voted for me to protect me yesterday. His voice was quiet, but I hear barely concealed rage in it. Explain that to me in a way even I can understand. He then rested his right hand on the hoe. I couldn't read his true intentions. However, he was definitely in charge here, and a wrong answer could be punished harshly. This would be a tough one. I knew this would happen. Huh. I had to consider what was on his mind. He was probably planning to beat me up no matter how I responded. However, he did seem to leave some space for consideration in case I gave him a good answer. Never enough toxic yaois. I was now being tested. In this situation, he'd only understand if I provided him with something unexpected. If I could do that, I could get him to agree with me. Well, since you know he's a human, just flash your belly. I'd already planned a response to this. It was both well-rounded and difficult to pull off. Yesterday, you were at a crossroads. You always believed that Yasumisu was unified, and that no one here would kill anyone else. Look what you've done, Binks! You've spread the yaoi brain rot! You always believed that Yasumisu was unified, and that no one here would kill anyone else. However, since you also valued their words, regardless of which generation they were from, you were unable to commit to a course of action. I paused for a second. Go on. He prodded me with the hoe. It didn't hurt, but it seemed antagonistic. However, he was still giving me a chance to talk. The elders, especially Yamawaki-san, believed that the feast was a paranormal phenomenon with absolute power over all within, and that death was unavoidable. We've all been in the trenches for so long. Earlier in the server, someone was asking about the term smut, and Kudu was like, back in my days, we used to call it a lemon, and in that single sentence, I aged like 30 years. The legend she recounted to us was the reason why Yasumisu became isolated, even here in Fujiyoshi, but it was also a part of its identity. Make it simple. Because of the story about killing the wolves and revenge, Yasumisu was given the unfair role of being the defense against Yomi. However, if you accepted life here and looked at it from an optimistic standpoint, the story was actually something to be proud of. Agreed, Zadie. Agreed. That was why, despite saying that the stories were nonsense, you couldn't just brush them off. He seemed to understand me so far. On the other hand, you're better at using your head and thinking logically than most others here. So you are better at telling the truth from lie. That was why you could relate to Chiemi-chan's and Yasunaga-kun's more modern, logical ways of thinking. One had lived in the city, while the other had a keen mind. However, they themselves look at the situation different. You relate to them all. That was why you wanted to take the middle road, but that would make it impossible for you to move forward or back. As the leader of Yasumisu and the mediator between the generations, you had to live up to their expectations. And that was why you decided to assume who were the enemies of Yasumisu and prioritize attacking them. Fortunately for you, you had a few options. One of them was the mystery girl Meiko. Another was Rikako-san. She was a village head, and they had a history of prejudice against Yasumisu. And then there was me, the guy with the unknown background. After that, there was Mamiya-san. Her identity was clear, but she was still an outsider. And lastly, Nosato-san, the village head who didn't seem to know anything because he was a second child. Of course, Yamawaki-san and Kaori Oribe-san, both of whom you were close to, were lowest on this list. You simply wanted to attack them based on this order because you wanted to avoid hurting those you were sympathetic to. I wouldn't call it unreasonable. It's natural to believe that the invaders are enemies, rather than that your neighbors became murderers. You were able to carry on this way of thinking until yesterday morning. No one died that night after all. However, that all crumpled at noon, when Yasumisu's people prioritized killing a local mainstay over an outsider. That's why you locked yourself up. You needed time to rethink your strategy. You considered how to rework your list of enemies, and how to determine Taya Yamawaki-san's murderer. My words were cut off when he threw away the hoe and grabbed me by my collar. That's not true! Being shaken by his powerful fists made it hard to breathe, but it wasn't violence just yet. If it really isn't, you can argue with words instead of threats. That's how you usually are, right? However, you decided to create enemies for yourself. That left you with only one option. Oppose the ones who killed Tae-san and avenge her by attacking them. No! Yes! Though she claimed to have a guardian, it was clear that Mamiya-san's attitude was weird, and yet the one who was hanged was Tae-san. That was why you thought that the wolves must have banded up and voted for Tae-san. They had to be lurking among those who voted her into her death. I'm sure that's what you thought, and in turn I thought this. At this point, the guilt from not saving her would get to you, and you would go berserk without any regard for yourself. Perhaps the point of killing all the suspects, even if it meant getting the corruption. That's why I thought about what I had to do. If I voted for Yamawaki-san, I would be your enemy number one. Meiko was young, and while Rikako-san voted for Yamawaki-san, she accepted that. Me, though, I have nothing. If you went berserk and started killing, I would be the first one on your list. That was why I couldn't vote for her. That's your reason. You had another choice, damn it. He was right. Though Tae-san had already had more votes, I saw the difference clearly and could use my vote to take it to the final vote. Even so, I couldn't vote for Hisako Mamiya. Why? You suspected her too, didn't you? And now... What was I to do here? There was no guarantee that no one was listening. It was probably best to assume that someone was. Even if there wasn't, was it a good idea to tell him about my guardian? I didn't have much time to think about this. Takumi-san grabbed the hoe again. Oh! So because, of earlier deaths we already have this open. But whatever, we're gonna die. We're gonna take the death route first. I was rotten to the core. I was the type who balked at trusting others. Loved ones made the right decisions in times of hardship. Help would come when you were in danger, genuine meaning the sweet nothings you whispered for life. If I asked people how they could be so sure about any of those, I'd be treated as cold-hearted for the most part. But trusting others meant taking risks. And the responsibility of those risks would fall on me, not the person I put my trust in. Of course, there were some situations where I had to take risks. Situations where I didn't know if I'd succeed or not, and got conflicting advice from others. I wanted to avoid situations like that, but if I had no choice, how would I choose whose opinion to go with? That was obvious, by viewing them with an objective level of trust, by ignoring subjective impressions and basing it on past data and the advice with a valid chance of success. Wasn't it crazier to trust others based on character or blood ties? Those who made choices based on how long they'd know someone or familiar bonds could do what they pleased. I'd be damned if I fell for those scams. I wouldn't trust them if they couldn't take responsibility for those risks on their own. Haruaki, are you... Buddy, what's happened to you? No, I couldn't trust them. For the first time in my life, I felt that working against me. Takumi-san was probably a human. There was almost no chance he was a wolf. But I could feel my distrustful nature scolding me for thinking I could trust him later, once I investigated him with the snake. Huh? There was a non-zero chance his anger was all an act, and he was just trying to intimidate me into confessing I was the snake. It was nearly zero, but not entirely. Swindlers and tricksters all took advantage of that risk to use others. If this were a malicious trap, the cost of this risk would be my death and defeat for the humans. I can't say. In the end, I just repeated that. My inability to trust him was probably based on abnormal levels of caution. That or my distrustful nature. Takumi-san released his grip on me, and I lost balance and fell to the floor. I groaned in pain as I hit my backside, looked up and saw... I see. Takumi-san holding the hoe aloft. Fine, then die. He swung it down. Maybe it was fortunate that this death had taught me a lesson. Distrust was not a perfect defense strategy, especially when faced with great physical danger. I'd learned that at the cost of my life. Though maybe I could put that to good use next time. More importantly, perhaps it would be best to gain some proof ahead of time that I could trust him. I feel like there's a bit of a oopsie in the branching path here. He should be like, what the fuck? I knew he was a human. Why'd I do that? Okay, so I had asked Pharaoh and Binks about this. Like, if there was any points to watching the hint corners. And some of them apparently have story-related stuff. So I'm just gonna go ahead and watch this. I won't read it out loud, since it might, you know, this might not give anything, but let's just see. Yeah. Hmm. Okay. My decision wasn't due to trusting him personally. I did it solely because I knew he wasn't a wolf. I'm the snake. Still, that was enough info to allow me to reveal it to him. And that's why I knew she was a fake right from the start. His grip relaxed for a second, but then... Then why didn't you say it? If you'd revealed yourself, Ba-chan wouldn't have... That's because I understood that the wolves wanted to know who the snake was, even if it meant sacrificing one of their own. What do you mean? Yesterday, I said that to make an active effort to win, the wolves had to pretend to have guardians. But by that, I meant the wolves as a group. No matter how good of an actor you are, by acting like you have a guardian, you will be suspected and put in danger. As a result, the faker would eventually be hanged, but it would have bought some time for the remaining wolves. However, pretending to have a guardian when no one else had died was way too risky. The real one was still alive after all. That meant the wolves could have been planning only one thing: to draw out the real snake and kill them that very night. There was also the possibility that she was a badger, but that would have only made it more confusing, so I omitted it. I did nothing to stop Yamawaki-san's death. I won't deny that. However, I thought it was necessary for me to survive and get back at the wolves. I couldn't have voted for Mamiya-san either. It was to keep the wolves from realizing that I actually knew exactly what she was. That was why, instead of using my vote on them, I used it to send you a message. It was a pretty bad plan if I say so myself. I had no idea if you would understand. But the result is clear. You came to me and gave me a chance to explain myself. This chance was necessary for me. What do you mean? You let me go. He did as I asked. We can avenge Tai-san by fixing the majority and killing all the wolves. However, for that, I need you to trust me. I already trust you. After all, I used the snake's power to confirm that you are a human. Can you trust me? This was very one-sided. However, it was in line with his desire. He was conflicted between three things: sympathy for me as an unfortunate outsider, the unfairness of the final vote yesterday, and my suggestion. This was especially hard for him because he wanted to be impartial. I can't decide that so suddenly. I understand. but I kind of believe that you're the snake. Are you sure that's a good idea? And the feast's all about whether you believe or not, right? He had a point. Also, your assumption is right. Which one? I was thinking of killing you yesterday. Whoa. If I'd come in here in the state I was yesterday, I have probably killed you before listening to anything you had to say. But I couldn't go through with it. Probably because I wanted to know what you meant. So, I'd worked some word magic there, huh? But that has nothing to do with whether I trust you or not. And I'll think about your suggestion after you tell me more. That's good enough for me. By the way, you said 2 people died. Who? Oh, I was just thinking of telling you. Come with me. We gotta find the old man. The ones who died today were Haru Makishima and Hisako Mamiya. When Takumi-san told me that, I was more confused than shocked. Why? Why them, of all people? However, I couldn't spend a lot of time thinking. Takumi-san predicted that Kanzo-san would go on a frenzy if he saw Haru-chan's corpse. That reminded me of the time he'd ran up to her when she was acting weird. Mochi had told me that he loved his granddaughter a lot, and that was undoubtedly true. Takumi-san had walked around Yasumisu before coming to me, but he couldn't find Kanzo-san anywhere. It would have been fine if they just missed each other, but Kanzo-san always woke up and walked around before anyone else. He must have already seen Haru-chan's body. Wait, let me... Considering the situation, I couldn't help but feel that something bad was happening with him right now. He's got a rifle. Guy's more dangerous than me. Even Takumi-san, who almost killed me himself, deemed him a huge threat. At the plaza, we met Chiemi. Her eyes were all red. Ii-chan, Haruaki-san. You saw the old man? Huh? No. I kinda thought you would be doing something to Haruaki-san by now. Doing something? My mind's in the gutter. Because of all the yaoi talk, I blame you too! We'll talk about that later. Haru's room is open, right? Old man Kanzo must have already saw her. Let's stick together and search for him. Chiemi, where are Chikumochi and Yasu? They might still be asleep. Then wake them up, and let's gather at the dorm. Susaishi, grab a stick or something. You mean? Go on, Ziri. What do you mean? Oh, okay. Haruaki-san, are you okay? What? Well... I won't say I didn't touch him, but I didn't do anything to him. Let's just go already. His words and large frame made it feel like his usual strength and confidence had returned. Rikako-san, Meiko, Kaori-san, Yoshitsugu-kun. Everyone from the nearby homes were still with us. We told them what happened, but since we couldn't wait for the women to get dressed, we left this place in Yoshitsugu's hands. Yoshi, if you see the old man, stop him at all cost. You protect the women and kids. You voted for Taibaton yesterday. Old man Kanzo might go for you without even giving you a chance to talk. But I kind of feel like it would work out for you. Sure you won't run.
Don't worry, leave it to me.
Wait, Takumi-san. Would Kanzo-san really attack him just because he voted for Tai-san? I wonder that as well. Yesterday, Makishima-sama suggested that we hang both Yamawaki-sama and Mamiya-sama, and he himself was the one who put the noose over her.
Bah!
ZD, we all know I'm weak to characters that can pick someone up and fold them in half like it's nothing, so... And Binks leaves me out to dry by saying Coco is too, and... can't deny that. Yeah, unlike me, he probably wouldn't go apeshit over Taibaton. But the journal lady was a wolf. That's why it's possible that he'll suspect everyone who voted for Taibaton instead of her.
What's with the confidence? You know something about the woman.
I was tense. It was entirely possible that Takumi-san was about to reveal what I was. However, I got a different response than I was expecting.
Why do I get the feeling he was gonna claim to be Snake? Oh, okay. You'll understand when you see her.
As the three of us went uphill, an unpleasant reek tickled our noses. We arrived at the concrete stairs near the dorm.
Fusaishi, watch where you're stepping.
I thought there was no deeper meaning behind those words. But then I saw the blood near my feet. A corpse. If I hadn't recognized it as such, I would have assumed it was a piece of modern art. Not because it was beautiful, but because it seemed so artificial. She was spread out. She was whittled down. All parts of her were torn, pulled, stretched in all directions. She actually covered the entire staircase. Muscle, fat, skin, tendons, hair, keratin, enamel, mucus parts, cartilage, eye lenses, clotted blood, excrement. All that had comprised this adult lady yesterday had been spread out over a large surface. It felt like I was looking at an anatomical drawing. It felt so artificial. You could barely tell it was a dead human, but I didn't really know what to make of it. One thing was clear, though. There was no special knowledge or intent behind this. It was pure, unadulterated violence that simply departed once it was complete. At the center of it all, you could find half of the bones needed to make a human being. Right, Ziri? That's why I was like, huh? That's... I mean, honestly, even if it wasn't, if there wasn't all this gore, I feel like that would be something very hard to just spot on the ground. I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be, I've never... But it's just, ugh. Which clearly revealed, but part of the face was still intact, which clearly revealed that the corpse belonged to Hisako Mamiya. She'd died outside her room. You'll understand when you see her. That was why he'd said that. Chiemi covered her mouth. I told her she could vomit if she wanted, but she said she had nothing left in her stomach. You must have seen this when leaving the dorm and passing through here. We ended up avoiding the stairs and went up the steep slope instead. The grass below was wet. Thinking that some of it was caused by her fluids, I became somewhat disturbed. Haru-chan would have fainted if she saw this. That thought reminded me that she, too, was no longer with us, casting an even deeper pall over the scene. We arrived at the dorm without anything else happening. Mochi was sitting on the stairs. It was the first time I'd ever seen him sad.
Haru-chan's dead.
I thought he was unique enough to treasure something, regardless if it was dead or alive. However, Haru-chan seemed to be an exception for him. Last time, I'd found out that he liked her, but I wasn't sure if it was that simple. Nor did I see the point of thinking about it.
Where's Yasu?
Upstairs.
Yasu!
After getting no response, we walked past Mochi up to the second floor. The door closest to the stairs was open.
Yasu, you here?
He was. He was on his knees, spacing out, looking utterly powerless.
Get a grip. We're all gonna look for Old Man Kanzo. Yasu!
Takumi-san rather violently shook him, and Yasunaga-kun made his first sound, a whimper. He didn't want to accept the despair before his eyes, and kept his emotions from blowing up. I could see that in his face. It's my fault. The first thing he blamed was himself. It's the third day. I still haven't found a single wolf.
No!
Takumi-san shook him again.
This is all the wolves' fault. Not then. If not that, then it's my fault for not stopping Old Man Kanzo. Your work has just begun. Get a grip, Yasu. Chiemi, take over.
Yasu-kun.
She opened her arms. Yasunaga refused the embrace, lightly pushed her aside, and left. He glanced back at me for a moment. Her expression felt hesitant to me. Or was I being too conceited?
We'll be downstairs. Yasu-kun, wait up!
Chiemi chased after him and tried to take his hand, and then I lost sight of them.
Man, this is horrible. I heard it from Chiemi, but still.
Takumi-san looked back into the room.
It's all messed up.
I felt the same way. This was nothing like the work of the wolves from last time. Kanzo-san had his face crushed, and Takumi-san had been shot in the head. Last time, Yasunaga-kun and Tai-san had both prioritized the head. It was a brutal yet efficient way of quickly taking their targets' lives. This, however, was the reverse. Haru-chan's empty, somewhat sad expression was preserved perfectly. Though stained by blood from her mouth, her deathly visage was even beautiful in a sense. The rest of her body, though, was a complete mess. She was lying on a futon covered in aged casual clothes. For some reason, it seemed like it didn't seem like she bled much. It was clear that she was beat up with a blunt instrument. Oh, God. That means it probably took a while. Everything beside her head had been thoroughly crushed by something heavy. She was like a pancake from the neck down. Her limbs were bent in unnatural ways that made it seem like she had no bones. It was an excessive way to kill someone, and her face was clearly left untouched on purpose. It was openly malicious, like the killer was toying with their victim. Profiling wasn't my area of expertise, nor was I particularly good at it.
What? That statement. That statement. What is your fucking job, Haruaki?
However, I couldn't help drawing a certain conclusion. The wet, bloody footprints made it clear that this was, like last time, the work of the wolves. However, these wolves were far crueler than the previous bunch. Prioritizing the search for Kanzo-san, we left the cleanup for later, and quickly returned to gather the others.
You and me both, CD. Z says, is it bad? My first thought was Yoshitsugu. Huh.
I mean, we are getting to the point where our options are gonna, considering there are 3 wolves. Mochi and Yasunaga-kun joined us, and the 5 of us went to the Nosaro mansion next to meet up with Kiyonosuke, who just passed through the gate.
Yeah, Kaori-san is definitely someone I'm very suspicious of in this run.
He was surprised that 2 people had died, but he was more bothered by the fact Kanzo-shi was nowhere to be found. It seemed to scare him.
He has a gun, doesn't he? That seems dangerous.
The old man I know would never use it on people.
He's like a different person with the mist around, though, he added. Kanzo-san had already pointed his gun at people. Takumi-san didn't want to see Kanzo-san as a threat, but it was clear he didn't trust him completely. His blind faith in the locals had vanished overnight. It probably wasn't virtuous in the general sense, but in the current situation, that naivety had been his only weakness. We went to Tae-san's house, passing the supposedly empty construction site along the way. We still couldn't find Kanzo-san or anything out of the ordinary.
It's still strange to me that they don't say what it is. Like, I assumed the last time when we looked at Takumi-san that I had maybe just missed it. But I was, like, being more careful to look this time around, and there did not seem to be any translation. After that, we went back to the plaza. And at first I had assumed since it was different, then that meant that Mochi was a wolf, but when we saw Mochi, Haruaki didn't comment on it. So it's just a little weird. That said, it did take him a while to comment on whether Takumi was a wolf or a human. It wasn't until we actually got to the feast that he did. In the dining hall, we found Yoshitsugu-kun and the woman, who were now dressed. They looked worried, but aside from that, everything was normal here too. We left Kiyonosuke and Yasunaga-kun there as some extra defense. Yasunaga-kun was still in a state of shock, and everyone wordlessly agreed that he should be with his family now. Then we went to the north, downhill, but we still couldn't find anything. Takumi-san then parted some bushes for some reason, and as it turned out, the old
wolf guy lived around here. That made me realize that I hadn't seen his place yet. Once we arrived there, my impression was that it didn't even look like a house. It was more like a wooden shed or storage room with frames that were barely stable and a door that didn't seem to fit properly. It honestly didn't seem like it would qualify as shelter. It wasn't all that much better than that outhouse I had hidden in. Around it, there were a lot of useless things like small pieces of cloth and rusty farming tools. Apparently, he had a tendency to go around Yasumizu and collect, or steal, these sorts of things. He wasn't in the hut. The open door made us nervous, but there was no dead body inside. After some more searching, we found the old wolf guy laughing around the pine, and he joined us. We now knew the whereabouts of everyone except Kanzo-san, and the body count remained at 2. We then checked Kanzo-san's house again, and it was still empty. And so we returned to the dining hall. Despite the tension, Howdy-san had begun making food. Well, it was important to stay well fed, so no one grumbled. It was rice gruel again, but no one complained about that either, and just ate up. The student in Chiemi didn't seem to have an appetite, though. We then talked about what we did do next. It was about 7 o'clock. The fact that none of us had seen Kanzo-san yet was unnerving. Takumi-san insisted we go searching again, but the others began to think that it was a waste of time. Some assumed that he either left the settlement, got stuck in some pond, or field, was taken by the corruption. Though those were all major problems, that would require us to find him ASAP. Most just didn't want to continue this. It seemed to me that while Kanzo-san may have had a lot of influence here, and many depended on him, a lot of the villagers had a latent aversion to him. In the end, though, we just couldn't ignore the possibility that he might have been lurking somewhere with his gun in hand. Once again, for the first time this loop anyway, a search party was sent out. Takumi-san, Chiemi, Mochi, and I all went around the misty settlement, but we couldn't find him.
Just what's going on here?
No clue.
I feel like we're wasting time here.
I had no evidence, but I felt the same way. Soon enough, we just went back to the plaza.
Fusayuki-san!
Meiko-chan. It was a while since I'd last spoken to her. We hadn't talked once yesterday, and it seemed like it'd be a while until she found out my name. What's wrong? Where's Rikako-san?
One-chan is talking about some difficult stuff, so I'm playing outside.
What are the people in the dining hall doing? What if something happened to this girl?
Meiko-chan voted for Taiba as well, right?
Yeah?
Huh?
Anyway, what's up? Oh.
I saw Ochi-chan.
What? Old man, what are you doing?
He'd been right under our noses. Specifically, the hall where we held the feasts. He was exactly where he would be during this feast. Right next to him, there was an empty bottle of divine sake.
Hanzo-chi-chan, about Haru-chan.
Don't say it.
He pushed away the bottle and stood up. He didn't seem the least bit drunk. In fact, his eyes were even sharper than usual.
Haru's gone. All that's left is to bring an end to the feast. That's it.
In other words, the daily morning patrols he was always doing were for Haru-chan's sake. So now that she was gone, this was the only place for him.
So you're waiting.
He replied with silence and sat down again, bringing his hunting rifle closer to him.
I'll call everyone.
It ain't time yet.
If we let you wait here, everyone's gonna be nervous.
Don't care.
Give me the gun. We'll put it back.
Go back.
Give me the gun.
Oh boy. Instead of replying, Kanzo-san took his gun and aimed at Takumi-san.
Go back to the dining hall and wait till noon.
The scene seemed symbolic to me. Kanzo-san wanted to lead by force and demonstrated it with his killing instrument. At this point, no one could get in the way of him leading the feast. But then something I didn't expect happened.
Whoa!
It was right when Kanzo-san seemed to have finished talking. Takumi-san grabbed the front of the gun with his hand, pushed it aside and took a step forward and punched Kanzo-san right in the face. I also didn't expect the old man to instantly retaliate. In less than a second, Kanzo-san let go of the gun and threw a punch into Takumi-san's face. No! Blood gushed out as Takumi-san's face was distorted in pain. However, that wasn't enough to take him out. Grrr. A slap from the left hand, the base of the palm clearly hitting Kanzo-san's face, and the old man was thrown backwards. He hit the wall behind him with a loud crunch, but even then, Kanzo-san stood up, clearly ready for more. It was an opening. I grabbed the hunting rifle. Huh? And gave it to Chiemi. Things were going so fast that I forgot that I wasn't supposed to know that she knew her way around guns yet.
Chi! Take it apart and throw it away.
But Takumi-san understood my intention.
Right!
Chiemi turned around. Kanzo-san tried to chase after her, but Takumi-san, Mochi, and I held him back.
I know how you feel, but guns are unfair. So what?
Can't trust no one.
I gotta protect Yasumisu. What else can I do, huh? You can trust someone.
Takumi-san glanced at me, but I couldn't agree with him in this situation. I could reveal myself to Kanzo-san, but not in front of Mochi. Even if someone had been eavesdropping on us when I told Takumi-san, it still wasn't the time to reveal it. There's one thing that's clear. The wolves went for Haru-chan to get to you, Makishima-san. You understand that, don't you? Making the situation even harsher, like you are right now, is exactly what they want.
Don't act like you know.
I do. After all, everyone is starting to fear you.
You're the ones who started it! If it weren't for the gun, I'd be apologizing for suspecting you by now.
They then fell silent and glared at each other. Mochi, get everyone here. We should start the feast right now. Yeah, right. Wouldn't want to leave the old man alone. Kanzo-san grunted, displeased, but offered no more protest towards starting the feast. Honestly, there was no reason why the time for when the feast started had been decided when it was. Kanzo-san was only doing it on the same time as the first day. The fact that he insisted on the usual time so strongly that he brandished his gun over it made it feel like he was more obsessed with control over the situation than actually thinking things through. At the base of it all, there was mistrust. He couldn't trust anyone, so he simply repeated whatever had brought him success so far. It'd be good if that led to our victory. But the feast really had to be approached like a game. There was no single way to win, and there was competition. If you could read the enemy's strategy, you could also outplay them. That was significantly easier for the wolves. It was best to assume they understood exactly how Kanzo-san thought. That was why they'd targeted Haru-chan. It was necessary to rethink our own strategy. It would all depend on how today's feast went. Especially for myself, since I was a snake and had to survive no matter what. Alright, I'm gonna quickly refill my tea. Be right back. Alright, I am back. Everyone drank? Yes. Alright, we're starting the feast. Haru was killed by the wolves last night. Her body is still in her room. We won't let her death go to waste. We'll find the wolves and end this hell. It might even happen today. Thank you, dear. Thank you, Zeddy. There was whispering. The people wondered if this was really possible. Takumini, I'd love to do that too. But what are you planning? Can't say that yet. Good move. I hadn't explained my intentions to him yet, but he had a vague idea of what I was planning. The keyword was fixed majority. If he understood that clearly, we would have a chance at winning. Think think we'll believe you if you don't tell.
After that, after all that happened today, I was kind of worried Kanzo-san wouldn't say anything. But that wasn't what happened. Let me check something real quick. I want to do a... Okay. He also wanted to give his all to end this feast with a victory. That was why he couldn't just stay quiet and let us all die, and continued pushing his strong approach to the feast, denying other ideas. Yeah, I can't say it. That might change, though. By the way, what were you planning to do today?
Hang everyone who voted for Taiba.
I knew it. I could hear whispers of perplexity and fear. His targets today would be the 4 who voted for Tai-san yesterday and didn't die last night. Basically, the old wolf guy, Yoshitsugu-kun, Rikako-san, and Meiko.
Hold on, why?
The journalist was a wolf.
How do you know?
Because her corpse was outside. Yasunaga-kun seemed to have recovered a little and was now doing what he had to again. In the feast, you're supposed to get 1 death per day and 1 per night. The fact that 2 died in 1 night means that something unusual happened. Haru-chan was dead in her own room because she was visited by the wolves. Amiya-san was outside her room, and judging by its state, she was probably taken by the corruption.
Haru-chan was in a bad state too.
I know, but her case was still something that could have been done by humans. Amiya-san was on a whole other level.
What about it? She just walked around that night, didn't she?
Yeah, exactly.
Then why would she be a wolf? Wasn't it the old hag?
That's because... Wait, Yasu, let me say it. Okay. That woman was acting weird all day. The old man said he'd hang her, but I can't say I don't get her. What would happen if her death was all but certain? An outsider would try to escape Yasumisu, right? She'd think she could run away. But the lady didn't do it. Yeah, she hadn't even tried to run.
What of it?
If you're running away, it's better to do it during the day. Even with all the mist, you can see stuff better in the light. You can't see anything at night. There's really no reason not to run away during the day. The mist would hide her and let her escape without us realizing it. If she'd run away yesterday after we all split up in the evening, you could have gotten to the very edge of Yasumisu. But that's not where she succumbed to the corruption.
Maybe she had some other reason for going out at night.
About that. Anyone else but me here tried to stay awake at night? That question came out of left field, but Yasunaga-kun, Chiemi, Yoshitsugu-kun, and I raised our hands. Didn't you say you stopped?
We ain't talking about going outside, are we? I took a stick to my futon in case someone came for me.
You went against the law of dreaming. Yeah, just 2 nights ago, like Yoshi, I grabbed a weapon and waited for something to come, but I still ended up falling asleep. Can you believe that? This whole thing's such a crisis. You shouldn't be able to fall asleep at all. Yet before you know it, you wake up and it's morning. It's not that you're not allowed to stay up late. You just can't. It's one of the things that freaks me out about the feast. You should know if you try to stay up. Only the wolves can move around at night.
That's 'cause she was an outsider.
So during the first loop, Mamiya and Yudai weren't part of the feast. So I guess that's why she was able to walk around. Huh. But how was... Hold on a second. So if it's some sort of force that makes you go to sleep, how was it that Yudai was able to get up and go outside? Because if I recall, they estimated that he went outside to go to the bathroom since there wasn't one in that construction area. And he was definitely part of the feast this time, presumably? I guess maybe since that was the very first night, his role within the feast hadn't been solidified yet, since he's not a Yasumisu resident.
That's 'cause she's an outsider.
Outsider or not, the feast is above all of us. If being an outsider was an excuse, the journalists wouldn't have fallen victim to the corruption. I had the mysterious experience of being spared by hiding in a toilet, but I had no choice but to stay quiet this time. Yeah, there's also that. He didn't fall asleep. But I guess that's also maybe because he wasn't part of the feast the first round. Hashimoto-san. The large cameraman died. Oh, here we go. Hashimoto-san, the large cameraman died by going out at night, didn't he? I don't know much about that. But if I gotta guess, he died because he wasn't sheltered properly. Cleanse, shelter. As long as you have those two covers, you'll definitely fall asleep. But if you stayed outside right from the start...
It's just an assumption, though.
Yeah, it is. You can ignore it if you want. But if the woman was a human, she'd have no reason to risk going outside. She was a wolf who was walking around at night, messed up somehow, and got punished for it. That's the only possible explanation.
Yasunaga-kun and Yoshitsugu-kun both fell silent. They couldn't argue against that anymore. Sure, it was strange how we just somehow fell asleep, but there were cases of people going out at night, both this and the previous time. I'd have to think about it some more later. Did you know that too, Makishima-san?
Only two kinds of people go out at night. Wolves and humans who die like dogs trying to kill the wolves. Pointed stare at Yoshitsugu-kun. Yeah, he too also went out at night. And did indeed die. With how important the dreaming law was to the locals, it was natural for them to assume that anyone who went out at night was a wolf. When you looked at it like that, Yoshitsugu-kun, who insisted on going out, was extremely reckless. And that's why Hisako Mamiya was a wolf. So Ba-chan, who she set up as a wolf, was clearly a human. Ain't it possible that both of them were wolves? I felt for him. It was his vote that killed Tai-san. Even if he was prepared for it, it was hard to justify. That's not impossible, but extremely unlikely.
No, It isn't. Hmm? Yamawaki-san, who we hanged yesterday, was a human. Oh, are you the crow? Sorry for keeping it a secret so far, but I am the crow.
What? What? Seriously?
I shall take responsibility for my son's rudeness and his vote that killed Yamawaki-san.
Damn, Jesus! Did you really have to say it like that? Like, I guess this is just one of those cultural things about, you know, filial piety and all that, but just rake him across the coals, Jesus.
I'm ready to take all the blame you give him, especially from Takumi-san, who loved Yamawaki-san like a mother. So please, don't punish him.
Yeah, this could also still be another attempt at luring out one of the guardians again. But, Her voice was sincere and sorrowful. She put her hands in front of her and placed her forehead on the floor.
Stop! Hey, I'm the one who voted. You had nothing to do with that.
Oh, that's probably how I looked yesterday.
Takumi-ni.
Don't worry, I know. Kaori-san, Yoshi, we ain't talking about who's to blame for Ba-chan's hanging.
But...
No buts. No one said it was a mistake back then, so we're all to blame here. The votes that killed her are more than... The votes that killed her are more like something to help us decide what to do, not some sins that get the noose around your neck. Is that right, Yasunaga?
yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Are you sure, though?
I won't forgive the wolves or whoever got them to kill. I'm with the old man on that.
Hanzo-san slightly opened his eyes, looking surprised he'd come up, but then looked away with humph. Something's bothering me. Can I say it, Takumi-ni?
Yeah, of course.
Do we have anyone else claiming to be the crow? Yasunaga. I know. I want to believe, but this is what's expected of me here. Do we have any other crows besides Kaori Oribe?
Aniki, you damn!
Yoshitsugu, silence. Learn from his example.
Yasukun.
I felt like the power balance here in Yasumisu was shifting. Hanzo-san was losing his influence, and Takumi-san's authority breached the generation. That amplified Yasunaga-kun's voice, putting him back at the front. However, this was a temporary thing that could only last when Kanzo-san's high-handedness was failing. It could be turned around if someone messed up, or was hanged today and drove someone else over the edge. I will say this just in case, but if you're real and you're keeping your silence, you're being nothing but a burden for us. If you know Kaori Oribe is fake and stay silent despite that, you won't be recognized as real if you decide to claim so later. Understand? Those words felt like they were directed at me, too. Harry. Looks like we have no one. Wait, we had no one come out against Mamiya's claim that she was the snake, and she turned out to be a wolf, didn't she? And now we have a whole 3 less people than yesterday. Isn't it a bit too early to decide she's real, just because no one is revealing themselves now? Yes, you're right.
but the possibility that Taiba or Mamiya-san were the crow is extremely low. Exactly. Tai-san would have revealed that before she was hanged, while Mamiya-san wouldn't have had a reason to pretend to be the snake to begin with. There's nothing that says Haru-chan wasn't the crow, but I know that she was absolutely terrible at lying and keeping secrets. She didn't act like she was hiding a guardian, and we were together most of the time. I'm confident I would have noticed any signs that implied she was a crow. The possibility that Kaori Oribe is a wolf who realized that Haru-chan was the crow before I did, and then killed her to take her spot, is pretty much zero. There's also the possibility that Haru-chan hid her role until the end, and the wolves just happened to hit the crow by killing her, but that's unlikely too. None of those who died were the crow. Can you agree to that? Your proof that Haru Makishima wasn't a crow is thin and circumstantial. You weren't the only one close to her, were you? What if a wolf that was also close to her realized she had a guardian and told Kaori Oribe? You can't deny that possibility, can you? Yasunaga-kun kept his eyes straight. To me, it seemed like it was a way of preventing those doubts from taking root. Wait, did you just suspect me? No way! Mochi would never kill Haru-chan! I wouldn't be so certain, Chieni. But I don't believe he did it either. What's your proof? What a strange silence. It didn't look like he had nothing to say. More that it was hard for him to say it. Come on, you said it yourself, Uncle. I'm an eccentric. You can't understand how others feel. I can't understand how others feel. I was with Haru-chan and Yasun because they don't mind no matter what I do. All I know is that they're good guys. I don't even care about anything else. You should say it too, Yasun. Tell him, that's what I'm like. I wouldn't say so. Anyway, I find it hard to believe that Haru-chan was the crow and got killed because of it. I think the crow is alive, and it's her. Yes, I am the crow. I see. Very well. Even I understand I'm pushing it with the theories, so I shall keep it to myself a bit. However, since we can say the same thing about the snake as well, that means the real one is still alive, right? He was right. That was the right way to look at it, and it was true. Let us push aside the reason why he or she didn't say anything when the fake came out. Is there a guarantee that the same thing isn't happening again? What if another's fake shown up and the real one's keeping their silence just like yesterday? You're just pushing it again. There's no way she's lying. If the journal was a wolf, then the old hag was human, damn it. Even a fake has no reason to lie. If the goal is to make people trust you, it's best to speak the truth. Even if another crow shows up today, they could only tell us a truth we already know, that Tai Yamawaki was human. And we would have no way to tell whether Lady Oribe or the other was the real crow. His assertion was a bit cynical, but accurate. If he was the modest and cautious one, he would be way more valuable to the humans. I must object to that. After all, Mamiya-san was a wolf who wanted to use the Guardian to survive. However, Kaori Oribe revealed her guardian while begging to take all the blame for Yoshitsugu Oribe. It was neither wise nor right, but I believe it's the real her talking, not the cunning of a wolf. The foolishness proves it, you say? That is my reason for believing Kaori Oribe. Higuchi's wife's gonna protect Yoshi, even if he's a wolf. My heart skipped a beat. Hanzo-san's voice was like a rumble, and just like before it, was dense with gloominess and anger. He had a point, too. If it were her son, Kaori-san was capable of breaking the feast's mental shackles. You old fart. He's not that type of guy. He spoke forcefully. If he was a wolf, he'd declare it and go around killing us directly. That's just how he is. He's like our parents. Straightforward, stubborn, and won't accept anything that doesn't sit right with him. Not even God. If he had to die to prove Kaori Oribe innocent, he'd surely do it. That's not something that I, the only sly coward in the family, can do. Yoshitsugu is a human. Hey! Yoshitsugu-kun rose to his feet and howled at his brother. Don't act like you know shit. If you spent more time with Mom, she'd... I do know. My cunning comes from my Higuchi blood. Mom has no reason to love me. She loves you way more. That's why I'm working hard and studying so I can pay her back with money and other things. You should get more grateful that she loves you just because you were born honest, Yoshitsugu. Why are you bringing yourself down so much? Aniki, listen up, you... Quiet, you two! The mother's voice quickly silenced her son's. Why are you fighting over such nonsense at a time like this? Hanzo, Makishima-san. The old man grunted in response to the mention of his name. I heard that when my late husband, Saruyoshi Higuchi, died, there was mist in Yasumisu. He died in a feast. Did you kill him? He got killed by the wolves on the first day. Old man! I've been in 2 feasts. Only this old fart and I survived. Past? What about it? Nothing. Even if you were the one who killed him, it was because of the feast. But know this, Yasunaga, Yoshitsugu. I don't want to lose my family to the feast ever again. So please, work together. You're brothers, aren't you? I didn't say I have anything against that. Me neither. Hey, sorry to bother you, but this really ain't the time for a family feud.
Ooh.
The fact that the old man's been in a feast doesn't matter much. Right now, anyway. Hanzo-san clicked his tongue. I believe the Yoribe. Yasu's the monkey, while Yoshi and Kaori-san aren't the type to lie. That makes it all clear that Taiba-chan and Haru were humans, while the journal lady was a wolf. We have 2 more wolves and 10 humans here. Out of them, the old man and Yasu are confirmed to be monkeys, and it's likely that Kaori-san is a crow. I trust Yoshi too, but it's not like we have any proof he's a human, so I won't add him here. Fine by me. Now, how do we proceed? If the still living, real snake has the right info, the feast might be as good as over. There it was.
What do you mean?
If the snake reveals themselves and states that 2 more of us are human,
there would be 6 confirmed humans, meaning we would have half of the votes. With those 6 being confirmed, it would be unlikely that the rest would vote for the same person, meaning that the victory would be as good as ours.
Fixed majority.
Exactly. And we would hang one of the 6 unknown, while the wolves would kill one of the 6 confirmed humans. Their primary target would be the snake, but it's likely that the spider is still alive. If he or she protects the snake tonight, we would have 1 less confirmed human, and 1 less unknown, and gain another confirmed human or wolf tomorrow. It would either become 6 humans and 4 unknown, or 5 humans, 4 unknown, and 1 wolf. The confirmed humans would become a majority regardless. This number couldn't be turned around, so we would most certainly win.
The snake's gotta find 2 humans.
Even if he does find a wolf, we'll only have 5 confirmed humans. In that case, even if we hang the wolf, we'd still be left with 4 confirmed humans and 6 unknown. The humans' victory wouldn't be ensured. Of course, hanging a wolf would give us great advantage, and if the snake comes out, the wolves wouldn't keep quiet either. Personally, I won't promise that I will certainly kill whoever reveals themselves. The snake's reveal could help bring certain things into the open. That was the opposite of Kanzel-san's approach. The old man clicked his tongue, and some squirmed uncomfortably. But if the snake only looked into those who died, like Haru-chan, Yamawaki-san, and Mamiya-san, he or she should stay quiet. But if that isn't the case, I would like the snake to reveal him or herself. I had to think. Was the info I had enough? I couldn't tell them that I'd use my looping to gather info. That was why I could only reveal 2 results. 1 for yesterday, and 1 for today. I'd already told Takumi-san that I checked and confirmed that he was a human. Thus, it was important for me to reveal that along with someone whose identity would help us. If I continued my silence, they might begin to believe that the snake wasn't fulfilling his duties properly. This was a do-or-die situation. Reveal nothing. Reveal Takumi is human and Chikamochi is a wolf. And a question mark. Do we just go down the roll for this? Yeah, we'll just go down the roll. Reveal nothing. No, not yet. I didn't have enough evidence to secure the fixed majority. Also, I had confirmed through my investigations as Snake up to today was that Takumi-san was a human. That was all the information I could offer. Like Yasunuga-kun had said, this was a situation where the reward for revealing you had a guardian didn't match the risk. Yeah, it's sad. Especially since they killed Haru. I hadn't even predicted Kaori-san would reveal she had a guardian. I thought it happened a little bit after we secured the fixed majority. It seems the snake still lacks decisive proof. Takumi-san shot me a glance. At first he looked confused or somewhat annoyed that I wasn't saying anything, but it seemed he soon caught on. Still too early. Perhaps the snake truly is dead. That shouldn't be the case, but we can't be sure. Let's think about this. In the end, no one else revealed themselves to have a guardian, and we reached a stalemate. With Kaori-san's reveal, we now had 3 confirmed humans. Ooh, excuse me. Then again, I wasn't completely sure she was telling the truth. I knew that Takumi-san and I were humans, but even when you included us... Damn it. It wasn't enough. I didn't have any more clues. Enough. Let's vote already. Is there anyone else who can just do something? Though Kanzo-san's word wasn't final, without a valid plan hammered out, a melee couldn't be avoided in the end.
Oh, you. Yes, you.
Just like the first day, the old wolf guy voted for me.
I'm voting for you.
2 votes. Guess that wasn't surprising. The clash between Mamiya-san and Taya-san may have temporarily distracted him, but he'd always been suspicious of me.
I'm going with Meiko again.
Though I'd managed to change things by cooperating with Takumi-san, this wasn't good. I'll vote for Umatsu-san. I'll vote for the Meiko girl. Meiko and I now had 2 votes each.
With the old wolf guy.
I'm going with Hassan. Uh-oh.
Crap. Now I was in the lead.
I'm going with Fusaishi too. Don't think I've forgotten how you said all that crap and ran off on the first day.
4 votes.
Not good. I'll vote for Meiko-chan. I shall vote for the Yasumisu Elder. Meiko had 3 votes, while the old guy had 2. At this rate, all I could do was... What? Meiko-chan.
Huh?
Looks like you and me are gonna die soon. It all rides on your shoulders. Hey, you can't tell her stuff! That's against the rules! No, it isn't. Meiko-chan. First, come up with a way not to die, then think about who you want to be useful to. Hey, sorry, for a second there I thought he was voting for her. Even if it's not in the rules, I cannot approve of trying to forcefully sway a child's opinion. But...
Wait, we can't let ourselves get swayed by the whims of a kid.
Meiko, if you do not vote for the Yasumisu Elder, that man will die. You bitch!
Then I'll vote for him.
Yoshi-kun, don't bother. Meiko-chan's in a pretty tight spot herself. But Chini!
I vote for the old wolf man. Then it's a final vote.
Thus everyone else voted on whether to hang the old wolf guy or I. In the end, the vote was 4-6. I was chosen. I was in the funeral procession of the prayer to Shinai. As the hapless lynch victim this time. I couldn't say this scenario had never crossed my mind, but it was still unexpected. The final vote should have been in my favor. I thought I could count on Takumi-san, Kaori-san, Yonosuke-shi, and Shiemi, the 4 who voted for Meiko and Rikako-san. But when the results came in, all of them except for Takumi-san had voted for me. None of them looked me in the eye. I didn't bother snapping back at them either. Now I understood. If I kept quiet, even those I was close to would doubt me. That was just how suspect my conduct on the first day had been. That was just how impossible a hurdle Kanzo-san's request for me to die had been. Yeah, if there is ever a point in which we have to hang her, I don't know if I'll be able to read that. Not out loud. I didn't like it. But all I could think about was how to survive next time. I'm sorry. I truly am sorry, Haruaki-sama. Hey, you've got nothing to apologize for. Hanging the feast is supposed to lead to salvation, right? Then I'm happy. Don't you remember? I originally came here to die. You're not supposed to die here. Why did you not flee? The way she said that in a voice only I could hear was so different from her normal self that I was startled. Rikako-san. I'm sorry. Rikako-san, this way. No, please. Let me push him. I would be honored, Rikako Uematsu-san. Haruaki-san! Chiemi looked at me with a tear visage. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't trust you to the end. Shani, you don't need to apologize for anything. I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. It's alright, Chiemi-chan. I won't hold a grudge. Honestly, I'd definitely be irritated about having to return to the start all over again. Still, I decided to play the good guy this time around. With this hanging, I feel like I've finally become a member of Yasumisu. Don't be a dumbass! I could hear guilt in his voice. Are you really okay with this? You really going to die without saying a word? Yes, I am. Not like that would do me any good. No one would believe me if I revealed my guardian now. Besides, if I died, none of this would ever have happened. Lynching would have terrified me if I didn't think of it that way. Death abruptly handed to you was slightly different from death in a fight you'd accepted. Multiple people's malice and apathy denied my existence by judging me less important than others, and so a consensus of those emotions sentenced me to death. To the creatures known as humans, who survived through their bonds, that despair surpassed that of simply being killed. I was experiencing such an easily imaginable scenario myself at that moment. Get it over with. Hurry up! Sora-san! You guys. Rikako-san lowered her head. Rise not. And muttered feebly. Rise not. Don't come back. As a Yomibito and our enemy don't come back. She pushed me weakly with the force of a gentle breeze. I fell backwards, soared through the air and fell, and with a sudden impact, my consciousness faded into a void, not unlike the dense mist surrounding me. Okay, let's just race through this.
Okay. Oh, wait, this is too early. Here we go. I had the evidence to reveal myself. I had a safety plan all set up. However, I also knew it was a ticking bomb that would likely throw things into chaos. Still, I'd already made up my mind, so I couldn't hesitate. Yes. Everyone looked to me when I raised my hand. I was nervous, but now that I'd spoken up, all that was left was to go with the flow. I, Haruaki Fusaishi, am the snake. I informed them without hesitation. I investigated Takumi Muru-san and Chikamochi Kamoshida-kun. Takumi Muru-san is a human, and Chikamochi Kamoshida-kun is a wolf. What was that? Mochi's a wolf. Everyone fell silent for a moment. Naturally, there was much commotion and chaos over my sudden announcement. Wait, Shikamochi's a wolf? That's not impossible, but why did you investigate him? Yeah, besides, didn't you already say you didn't have a guardian? I didn't say anything back then because there was a high probability I would have been killed if I revealed myself. Obviously, I knew Mamiya-san was lying about being the snake, but none of you would have had any idea. If we both survived, the spider wouldn't know which of us to protect, so I couldn't guarantee my safety. If I had said something, the wolves would have had the perfect opportunity to find and kill the real snake. Oh, I see. Take this seriously, Mochi, don't you get it? You're being accused of being a wolf. That's true. It's probably because I already know I'm not a wolf. Which means that Hassan would be the real wolf here, I guess. I suppose that idea would make sense. If Mamiya-san was a wolf, would another wolf really try to play a snake again? We still don't know if the journal lady was a wolf. Hanzo-san tried fighting back. You can't tell with these city folk whether she was a wolf or whatever. Maybe she went out wanting to die. Shall I take that as a sign of support for Chikamochi Kamoshida? His silence was not primarily out of doubt for me, but just the same old habit of his. I believe I was asked why I looked into him. The reason is because he wasn't acting like himself. He's normally sharper than this, not the type who keeps quiet about his ideas. Yet this time, he's choosing his words quite carefully, almost like he's saying he can't act on his intuition. You talk like you've seen me do that before. See, this was exactly the part of him that scared me. That was merely my opinion, and the observation that led me to investigate you, that's all. Please don't read too deeply into it. I will. If you've known about us for a while, maybe you're a spy or something sent by the village. There's also your odd tendency to be aggressive towards just me that caused me to suspect you. Like just now. I took a peek at everyone's faces. Yasunaga-kun was staring at the ground, lost in thought. Takumi-san was bewildered, as he should be. Usaishi, are you saying Chikamochi killed Haru?
Hanzo-san's eyes widened. Apparently he finally understood that a suspected wolf could be the one who killed his granddaughter. Yes, that would be the case.
As if. I care about Haru-chan and Yasun more than anything else. Sorry to Ri-chan and the others, but I really don't care about Shinai-san, the rules, or the feast. But how could someone like that kill Haru-chan?
If you truly are mad, then you have motive enough. After all, mad people can treasure their loved ones, whether they're alive or dead. It makes no difference to them.
True.
Cut it out, Mochi! Did you really?
This is a pain. Hey, Hassan, I'm no good with this kind of stuff, so go a little easy on me, will you?
Sorry, but I can't let my guards down around you. I've learned well over the past few days that your brain is on a different wavelength from everyone else's.
Yasukun, don't we have any proof Mochi didn't do it?
You should have already realized it, but no, I don't. Don't you have anything, Mochi?
Sorry, I didn't plan that far ahead. But do you really want to suspect me?
Ikamochi-kun does seem to be acting the same as always. But even if he was giving the role of a wolf, I could easily see him maintaining his presence of mind. And his stance is essentially to not think for himself. He's just followed Yasunaga-kun and voted for Nosato-san each time so far. Fortunately for him, his disposition wasn't suspected, but I actually think it was a pretty cunning way to act. So long as someone Yasunaga-kun didn't want to view as an enemy was a wolf, that wolf could stay safe by following his lead. Yasunaga-kun is a monkey, and therefore definitely human. To leave the vote to him is the same thing as having a wolf give up their vote entirely. But if Chikamochi Kamoshida were to stay that way only to suddenly vote for someone else, we'd just dismiss it as him acting on a whim. In the end, he was in a position where he could vote freely without attracting suspicion.
Ugh, you're relentless. I don't really have anything to say, so staying quiet makes me look fishy.
But that's just the feast of the Yomi Purge.
Then why not just hang me?
Mochi, please! Say something, anything! Tell us you're not a wolf.
I'm not a wolf.
Look at me.
Come on, Yasun. You know I'm not the type who looks others in the eyes when talking.
I don't even look at other people, he said with a smile. The vote was held afterwards. Yasunaga-kun abstained from voting. Jamie, Aori-san, Hanzo-san, and Mochi all voted for me, while the rest voted for Mochi, sealing his fate.
Hey, Yasun. Don't cry.
I'm sorry, Mochi. I'm sorry I couldn't save you.
Hey, you know, no need to be sorry. I've done some bad things.
Does that mean?
I'm not a wolf. I just didn't have what it took to beat Hassan.
Don't leave me. Without you or Haru-chan, I'll be alone.
You've got Mami Kaori and Yoshi, don't you?
When it comes to them, No. Forget it.
What, you want to kiss or something?
Cut it out, idiot.
Sorry. These are my last moments, and I still don't know what to do in times like these. Okay. Do it, Yasun.
Rise not.
Rise not.
Yasunaga-kun pushed forward. Chikamochi Kamoshida fell into the mist, and the rope went taut. Mochi! Everyone stood there, frozen in place, while I headed for the plaza. I felt sick. Hey, Fusaishi. Takumi-san caught up with me. He really was a wolf, wasn't he? No doubt about it. But... yes. He died as a human to the very end. I kept getting the urge to tell him to quit playing the victim and glorifying this. I wanted to tell Yasunaga-kun that this was the guy who'd killed the girl who was like his own sister and smiled like nothing was wrong. But what good would that have done me? It'd probably be Mamiya-san all over again. The shock Yasunaga-kun will feel when all is revealed will be unfathomable. But there was nothing else I could do. Sounds like you're really fretting over this. Sorry. Don't be. I'm a member of Yasumisu too. I will fulfill my duties as the snake, while bearing the responsibility of Mochi's death to the very end. Thanks. It was good I'd gotten Takumi-san on my side, but as a whole, it didn't feel like any of this had gone well. It left a really bad taste in my mouth. After that, I lost my job at the kitchen. Well, I hadn't exactly lost it, but since Kaori-san had voted for me, I was restraining myself. Yoshitsugu-kun took over the work while I secluded myself in my hut. It was Takumi-san who suggested it. He said it was best I watched out for any potential attacks, now that it was out that I was the snake. He also took over testing the food for poison. I remembered what he said. If the spider is still alive, I've said they should protect you. If you're telling the truth, then there's one wolf left. I want to settle this as quickly as possible. I told him I'd do everything I could. It felt like Takumi-san It felt like Takumi-san and I had grown rather close. No, not in the way that would make BL fangirls squeal with joy. You too? Me as well? Oh, game. I gratefully took my food and was happy to get away from the melancholy atmosphere that lingered after Mochi's death. Takumi-san was right. Just one wolf was left. And from my point of view, I had 4, no 5, candidates left. One day may not have been enough to corner them. Did I have any ways to ensure I could end it tomorrow? No. This was a problem. For now, I'd investigate who I considered the most suspect. As long as the spider protected me, the rest would be a war of attrition. In that case, I had to aim to end it tomorrow. However, I never woke up after that night. Why? What happened to me? I didn't even know. I felt not even the slightest bit of pain or suffering in my deep slumber. But like the dense mist outside, my sleep appeared to have engulfed everything and become a shroud not of this world. Did the spider not protect me? In the end, the loser wasn't even allowed to entertain that thought. All right. I mean, this was my thought. There's no certainty that it was a wolf that killed me.
So go either to 5 wit investigation 1 or 5 wit investigation 2. If you got the keys, they go back to 5. Okay. This one might be the biggest roadblock in Raging Loop, huh? Let's see. 10, almost 10:30. Hmm. So vote. Me, accusation, premonition, investigation, trust Takumi, fair guardian. Alright, so yeah, we're missing one of these. Yes, looks like we're still missing 11. Yeah. Let's see. Menu, keys. Okay. How many are there in total? 20. Well, actually, we've got a fair amount. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Eh. Okay. So we'll just go back 1 and search someone other than Chikamochi. Okay. So here we go. Who did I have to go for? I wrote down the name, left it near my pillow, and went to sleep. Hmm. I see. Truth of the Doctor. I woke up to yet another day. I got the info I wanted as the snake. You could also say that the wolves had let me live. Could I trust that Yasunaga-kun and Mochi were the only ones who suspected me? I could contribute to the human lives' survival by hiding my identity as the snake and gather information about the others. However, that had me worried. Would everyone believe the snake would survive by hiding his identity and revealing himself late in the game? Can we skip a bit? Yeah. Let me just double check to make sure. Auto skip. Okay, good.
Reveal Takumi and Kyonosuke are humans. From the ones still alive, I could declare that Kyonosuke no Satoshi was a human. With me, him, and Takumi-san, we would have 3 more confirmed humans, completing the fixed majority Yasunaga-kun had talked about. For that, I had to believe that Kaori-san was the crow, but that seemed reasonable to me. After a bit of hesitation, I made my decision. I had to hurry. The wolves must have been conflicted right now. They had to be considering whether they could start faking before I spoke up. I had to declare it. Yes. My voice sounded stupid. I raised my hand. Everyone looked at me. I was even more tense than I imagined. However, now that I'd spoken up, my hesitation was gone. I, Haruaki Fusaishi, am the snake. I made that as clear as possible. I investigated Kyonosuke no Sato-san and Takumi Muro-san. They're both humans. Their reaction was strangely calm. There you go. It goes without saying, but I'm admitting that I'm human. Same here. Why did you keep quiet about this until now? Like Yasunaga-kun said, completing the fixed majority requires 6 people. Normally, I would have needed to use my guardian once more. But then Mom suddenly revealed herself to be all but certainly a human, prompting you to act ahead of schedule, right? Yes. I do apologize for staying silent until now. People have died as a result. However, when Mamiya-san's declaration was such an obvious trap, I could no longer announce my role. I gave them a mostly accurate summary of my intentions, similar to the one I gave to Takumi-san. So that's why you said those things on the first day? Yes, I mistimed some things though. I probably sounded a bit fishy. Anyway, that's all from me for now. Do you accept that, Kanzo-san? We still left the final call to Kanzo Makishimashi, and it was actually a good thing it was still like that. Though some people resisted him, he was well respected here. A split here could destroy the fixed majority. You said something yesterday, didn't ya? Something about having no special powers. I knew he would go there. Like I just said, I couldn't reveal my identity until now. Why? What do you mean, You ain't planning on dying. I'm sure I told you that I couldn't die. That was because I still had to fulfill my role as the snake. We hang liars. Beast rules. I didn't lie. Yasun, why do liars get the noose? Humans search for the wolves on the assumption that humans don't lie, because that's something that wolves definitely do. Exactly. It was wise to create a situation where exposed lies could lead to discovery of wolves, and lying humans are harmful to humans. That's why I said I didn't have any special powers, rather than I didn't have a guardian. After all, I don't have any superpowers, do I? Yes, that's what I thought when I heard that. I figured your roundabout phrasing was implying something. Like, I'll believe that. He's an outsider. We don't know what he is, and he lied. He said that Kyo and I are humans. Wolves can do that too. He wasn't wrong there. If I was a wolf and got comfortable on the human side like I was trying to do now, the humans would be as good as dead. After all, I could investigate the other wolf and just say that they were human, adding them to the confirmed human count. If I did that, in a few days we'd get in a situation where all the suspicious people were gone, while the feast was still ongoing. This was a waste of time difficult to recover from. In a sense, the fate of the humans depended on whether they believed me or not. It was a huge gamble for them. But why? Why wasn't any wolf taking this chance? So you're saying he is a wolf who is using Budo and I to survive? Huh. That's not impossible, but... I shall believe him. He may hide things, but I do not believe he means any harm. She was overestimating me, but at this moment, I appreciated it. Same here. My reasoning is that Fusaishi-san analyzed the feast with reasoning similar to mine, and is so far doing the logical things for the sake of the humans. I appreciated that. It made me want to buy him a drink once he was old enough. I trust him too, old man. Why? Because I believe he ain't planning on dying. And you're afraid that he might pick the wrong targets and we'd end up with a feast that's not ending, even when we got rid of all the wolves, right? If that happened, everyone would hang Fusaishi, right? He's an outsider. He's not gonna die for Yasumisu's sake. And that's why he wouldn't say a lie that'd get him killed. It's also why he didn't come out when you said that all snakes should be hanged. But the situation is different now. When you said all snakes should be hanged. But the situation is different now. And now that he's out in the open, he's probably thinking he can even get the spider to protect him. Right, Fusaishi? Was he being honest? Or was he only saying that to make Kanzo-san more tolerant? Whatever the case, his analysis was correct. No comment. That was why I couldn't respond honestly. I couldn't lie or gather more antagonism than I already had. Heh. To my surprise, Kanzo-san chuckled. It sounded like a mocking laugh, though. Did this mean that he now accepted I was just a cowardly outsider? If that were the case, he probably wouldn't lend an ear to any of my proposals. After all, I wouldn't give my life for Yasumisu. I'll ask one thing then. Which one of the 6 do we hang? I didn't think about it yet. What about you, Kyo and Yasu? The two shook their heads. You got someone? We're hanging Uematsu. Because she voted for Taeba-chan. Uematsu got something to say. If necessary, I am willing to be hanged. I have not lived in Yasumisu for long. I never thought I would be trusted. However, there's one thing I can say. I have the spider as the guardian. What? So that was her play. But Rikako-san, that was... The spider? Who'd you protect the first night? Right. No one died then. It would help to know that. The first night, I protected you, Hanzo Makishima-sama. That made sense. Sounds true to me. The old fart was pretty loud on the first day. The wolves saw that too. And yesterday, I chose Yasunaga Oribe-sama. Me? But I didn't do much yesterday. In all honesty, I sincerely believe that Yasunaga Oribe-sama would make for a more valuable survival than Makishima-sama. I believed we shouldn't mistreat those who claim to have guardians. Well, Takumi-san was choosing his words carefully. We couldn't shoot down all of Kanzo-san's suggestions. If he became too emotional, he could destroy our fixed majority. However, I was more or less certain that Rikako-san was a human. I'd made a theory that she was using Mako, and just now she'd named herself the spider rather than a snake. For me, all of those things made sense. So... What happened next was completely unexpected.
I'm also spider.
We'd always thought that the old wolf guy and Mako wouldn't take part in the feast. Boy, were we wrong. After all, their only contributions were their votes, and it was hard to tell what they based their votes on. They were just two swing votes who were otherwise harmless and best left ignored. It wasn't that simple, though. Unlike last time when we had exceptions like me, everyone here was participating in the feast the way they were supposed to. That was why everyone could have a guardian of some sort, even if they were too childish or senile to make good use of it. I'd been actually afraid that they would get and waste their guardians. I didn't expect him to come out as a second spider, however. Why him, of all people? And why the spider?
Really?
Spider?
Uematsu.
I am Spider. The old man is lying.
You are the liar.
Old man, sorry about this, but I always assumed you to be senile and nothing else. Do you understand the current situation?
What?
Hey, was he like this in the previous feasts? Always been like this. Was useless in the feasts.
Mochi, you're friends with him, right? What do you think?
Sorry, but I don't really understand others. You okay, old man? He's alright.
How troublesome.
Old fart. Who'd you protect first and last night?
What?
Listen, our lives are on the line here. If you're just messing around...
I protect that.
He ended the question by raising his finger and pointing at Yasunaga-kun.
Me? On which day?
Oh?
On both?
Oh.
He responded with a smile.
That means that the wolves went for Yasu first.
I believe I can understand it.
Hey, why him? Nothing. Just because? Yeah.
That definitely wasn't a good standard for deciding who to protect from death. What was this about, anyway? Wait. Could it be... the badger?
What's wrong, Fusaishi?
Remember when I told you that there might be a badger? Because there are badgers in prayer to Shinai in the shrine. But it's so minor. And don't you think it's a bit of a stretch to assume they would be humans who serve the wolves? Well, in this situation, it doesn't really matter whether the badger exists or not. All that we know is that either Rikako-san or the old wolf guy here are lying. No arguments against that. Honestly, I thought they both were lying, but I more or less knew what Rikako-san was going for. She was probably ordering and controlling Mako, the real spider, effectively making her the one who protected people. That was why the info she gave about how she used the power was correct. In a way, she was the spider's representative.
Aw, I'm glad y'all like.
The advantage of this method was that even if she died, the real spider would survive. Of course, Meiko wouldn't have someone helping her make decisions if Rikako-san died, limiting the Guardian's effectiveness. But even so, if the spider the wolves thought was dead was actually alive, it could turn the tides in the endgame. The spider was best kept hidden at all costs, but Rikako-san revealed it so it'd draw the votes towards her. She used it for her own plan. I didn't know how accurate my assumption was, but it did seem like an effective course of action. Though she probably didn't expect a sudden fake. It was day 3, and the fixed majority plan was becoming reality, yet no wolves came out as either snake or crows. We all knew the danger of the wolves taking the snake's role, while taking the crow would help them hide the amount of wolves still alive, giving them a path to victory. However, there was next to no point in pretending to be the spider. Even if you claimed to be the spider and you said you would protect someone, then, even if no one died, you would still be suspected of being a wolf fixing the game. However, there was an exception. It was effective in helping the wolves know who the badger was. It was probably true that Kanzo-san was the target the first day, but was stopped by Meiko, who was ordered by Rikako-san. That was why the wolves, who knew what they were aiming for that day, had recognized Rikako-san as the real deal. They also understood that the old wolf guy was lying. That meant that from the wolf's perspective, he was a human who just told a lie. It was too obvious. The wolves knew about the badger. The wolves and their ally needed to be proactive about lying. The old wolf guy defied that rule, letting the wolves know what he was. With Hisako Mamiya's death, they had lost a vote, but with this, they now had 3 again. Also, Hanzo-san was considering his opponent, Rikako-san, as the next candidate for the hanging. In this situation, we had to make good use of the 6 confirmed humans and hang the lying spider. The easiest choice was to trust Kanzo-san's decision and vote for Rikako-san. By gathering wolf, badger, and confirmed human votes, Rikako-san would be sent to the tree. It was a chance for the wolves to kill the spider, and make them think that the humans killed a wolf. That was really effective for them, and extremely dangerous for us. Even with the real spider, Meiko, survived, it would be really difficult for me to talk about the badger and explain that Rikako-san was a fake spider on their side. Yeah, I had to convince the human side that they should vote to hang the wolf guy instead. Was that really right, though? I had to think carefully. I only came to understand Rikako-san's intentions because she told me to vote for her in a peculiar situation. I was assuming that both she and the wolf guy had some ulterior motives, but was that really right? Was the old guy even capable of that? He'd played with a pretty useless guardian. Maybe he'd only come out because he found it strange that another spider had named themselves. In fact, that was the most natural reaction, especially in the other's eyes. Same went for Rikako-san. From what I saw of her, she was more legend and harmony than intelligence. What if she was actually thinking that by protecting Meiko, she would be considered a good guy and avoid gathering votes? What if her affection for me was all part of the plan too? Crap. This was obviously the more reasonable line of thinking. Also, Rikako-san could have also been lying to let the wolves know something. Anyway, we had a relatively sane young woman going up against a completely senile man. No matter how you looked at it. And with that, we will end the stream right
here. Oh, that was... There, we got a lot of stuff done this episode. Ooh. But we will be back to this next Wednesday. As I said previously, I will be streaming Raging Loop twice a week now, on Mondays and on Wednesdays, both at 8 p.m. EST. Then on Friday at 8 p.m. EST over on Twitch, since the new Final Fantasy XIV patch will come out, I will be doing that. I'll be playing Sunday 8 p.m. EST as well. And hopefully we'll be able to get back to Animorphs. Moon has not been able to return to that with me. If they're not able to, I will probably need to see if I can find someone else to aid. I don't want to keep putting that off. So yeah, hopefully we'll get back to that. And also Thursday at 9 p.m. EST on the server is the Star Trek Watch Along. Yeah, well, thank you all so much for coming on by. I hope you have a wonderful time zone wherever you are, and as always, please do take care of yourselves and each other. Toodaloo-hoo!